Hey yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Mike and Ant, a new episode. We're going to be going over these Thanksgiving games. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Shout out to the sponsor, W Energy. Don't forget to use the QR code along with the code Mob Squad 508 for 10% off every order. I'm Mob Miz. Shout out to my homie Inspector Ant. What's everything going, my brother? How's everything going, my brother?
Everything's going good.
Well, let's get into these Thanksgiving slate of games. I think I went 1-3. I had a terrible day, but let's go. Oh, 1-2, excuse me.
I went 2-1, so it was a good day for me. I just wish I had the balls to bet because I had a feeling that I was gonna lose on Detroit anyway, but I had a feeling Dallas and Cincy was gonna pull up the upset.
Yeah,
But
since he was my only right pick.
yeah, but we'll start before we get to those games. Though we'll start with Packers Lions in the NFC North. Green Bay beat Detroit 31-24. Jordan Love completed 18 of 30 passes for 234 yards, and he threw a career high 4 touchdown passes. Josh Jacobs, coming back from injury, had 17 carries, 83 yards to lead the Packers in rushing. And then I can't say his name. Devontae Wicks led the Packers in receiving with 6 catches, 94 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He had the best game of his season. As far as the Lions, Jared Goff was actually solid. He had a better game than Jordan Love. He completed 20 of 26 for 256 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. And what makes Jared Goff's numbers even more better is that he didn't even complete a pass in the first quarter. I think he was like 0 for 4. So he only had 2 incompletions for the rest of the game. So he finished with 20 for 26. Their leading rusher was Jameer Gibbs, 20 carries for 68 yards. Mike, you and I, we've been talking about this ever since Dan Campbell took over play calling. That David Montgomery's not getting his touches. Once again, he only had 8 carries for 32 yards. He did have a touchdown, but for some reason, Dan Campbell's not using David Montgomery as much. And then their leading receiver was Jameson Williams. He had 7 catches for 144 yards and a touchdown. I thought he played pretty well after Amaron went down. He proved he could be a solid wide receiver one if need be. But Mike, what's your thoughts on this game as the Packers beat the Lions to prove to 8-3-1? The Lions dropped to 7-5 as their season's now on life support.
This game said Lions. The Packers offense looked amazing. They haven't looked, I don't know if they've looked that good all year. That might be the best they've looked.
Not since week 1 when they played the Lions.
Yeah. Now, Micah Parsons crushed it on defense too. But I think what this game speaks more on, and Jamison Williams, great game, but he dropped a fourth down pass that
Yes,
arguably lost them the game. So let me
yes.
make sure I put that in there. But he showed they're not using him right. He showed that he did, fellas. He showed this because when someone can put up a buck 40 and it looks effortlessly, he's not a one pony that y'all been using him as. You put him in different positions and he showed you could do outs, goes, slants. You got to use him more.
They just use them on post routes. Just go
Yeah.
deep.
Now, this might have been a gift and a curse um, because he showed you could do a lot more than what you thought he could do. As far as the run game, it's pedestrian. The reason being is it's basic. Jameer Gibbs all the way down the field and Montgomery goal line. I will never get behind taking out the better athlete at the goal line. I just won't. I don't understand. It's like, look it, when you got a starting running back and you know he's special, don't take him out for less special at the goal line. Montgomery needs more handoffs in between the 20s. He doesn't need to eat up the goal line touches where you take off the prolific player. I want him fresh for the goal line touches. I want him to get around the edge. I want him to utilize that speed. I want him to utilize that top five ability, which he has. Montgomery needs to be used more down the field. Where you use Gibbs down the field, it's like almost to the point where if Gibbs don't score a touchdown from 40 yards out, he won't get one. Because you want to utilize David Montgomery from the 10-yard line and into the end zone. Where know what you're doing. You're trying to come up the middle. That's why I get stopped. They know what you're doing with him.
Well, not only that, but whatever happened before, they were alternating backs. Now they're not even alternating backs, just Jameer Gibbs, and then like you said, once they get into the goal line, then they want to put in Montgomery.
Let me shout out Todd Gurley and use an old Todd Gurley term that he used for Jeff Fisher. This is a fucking high school offense. If I'm the Lions owner, I looked at this team and think we had a chance to win the past 2 years, and I didn't realize the problem. I Now as a spectator, I'll tell you the problem. It's your coach. He's wildly aggressive. He's allergic to taking guaranteed points. And had he had took guaranteed points, a lot of these times you wouldn't be in these situations. Now, it's great to have confidence in your players. It's also dumb to not take points.
Especially when you have one of the best field goal kickers in the league.
Yeah. So Jared Goff willed them back into this game. It wasn't these play calls. There wasn't amazing play calls. There just wasn't, right?
Also, if you notice too, Jared Goff was audible a lot of out of a lot of those plays.
Yeah. So my thing is this. Forget the Ben Johnson stuff because we're over that. Their head coach fired an offensive coordinator or took play calling from a from an offensive coordinator that is far superior to him when it comes to offensive play calling. And the Lions look terrible. Now it's 3 weeks. Even doesn't matter that they didn't lose all three. Their offense looked like shit 3 weeks in a row. That's Dan's fault. Dan needs to pass up that. I don't even know why he took it, but he needs to pass up that play calling immediately. But if I'm the owner, I know I'm one great offensive play caller away from a Super Bowl chance. I'm firing my defensive head coach that decided he's going to call offense, that clearly doesn't know shit about offense, and I'm hiring somebody young that knows offense because you got an offensive explosion ready to happen, and your head coach is a shithead that is fucking y'all up. Pardon my language. Whether it's the going for it every time on fourth down when you have field goals, whether it's not knowing how to actually efficiently call offensive play calling, he can't do that. Let's just say what it is now that you always say. He's a glorified defensive coordinator, and he got away with it for a couple of years because he has so much on offense. Whether it's Amaron, Jameson, Laporta, Gibbs, Montgomery, Golf, that's super disrespected. Whether it's the great O line, that allowed him to just slip through the cracks, right? He's a DC, bro. Now that you got him calling offensive play calls, the Lions ain't gonna make the playoffs looking like this. And I said that before this game when I picked the Lions, this game could change my outlook, right? The Lions are done. They're done. And it has nothing to do with how good they could be because I think they got a real good team. Their coach is going to coach them out the playoffs. And now it's up to the owner if he's going to deal with this garbage going forward. Because I promise you, if Dan Campbell goes into the next year play calling for the Lions, they might win 4 games. He's not a good play caller, and I'm not gonna hold my tongue on it.
Yeah, and what I don't first of all, him being aggressive, it blows my mind he didn't learn his lesson from the NFC Championship game a couple years ago. That's what cost them against the Niners. You're up big, and yet you keep going for it. And then
Yep,
by you not taking the points, not only are you not extending the lead, but then you're giving the Niners the ball at a short field, and you're just letting them chip away, chip away, chip away, because you're not taking the points. 24-7 could easily be 27-7, or
yep,
30-7.
yep,
But you're not in the league, you're just letting the team hang around, and then finally the Niners came back and beat y'all. And then as far as him taking over the plays, I said this when it first happened. I was like, he overreacted to something because at the time everybody was surprised because the Lions have a top five offense. It wasn't like the offense was struggling, so it didn't make sense for him to just all of a sudden take over play calling. And even though he's been bad at it, they're kind of stuck because you can't. He can't just be all of a sudden be like, "Oh, my bad. Here, I'm gonna let the offensive coordinator call plays again." Like once you make that decision, you got to call plays now for the rest of the season.
Almost
And you're gonna have to fire that offensive coordinator now too and get a new one. It's gonna be hard to bring him back after you just demoted him.
I almost feel like maybe he felt the hot seat coming, but and maybe other people don't see it, but I think he's one of the coaches potentially to get fired during this off season or mutually agree to part ways because I think it's over. Like this team, what he's doing with this team looks like they're going down. They don't look like they're going up. So you need an offensive mind over there to be able to coach that team.
Yeah, it might be a like a Tampa Bay Buccaneers situation from back in the day when they had Tony Dungy, and Tony Dungy could only take them so far. And even Warren Sapp said it that Tony Dungy, he was just too nice of a guy. Like his personality did not fit that team. And once John Gruden came in there, once they made the trade for John Gruden, that whole team changed and they won the Super Bowl that first year because Gruden's personality fit that team better, and they responded to Gruden. And one of the things that Gruden did was he actually fixed the offense, something that Tampa Bay struggled under Dungy. Now,
Mhm.
not taking away anything from Coach Dungy because he ended up doing great in Indianapolis, and maybe that team fit his personality better than the Bucks. Because the Bucks had a strong personality, so they needed a strong head coach like John Gruden, who they couldn't walk over. And it could be a situation where Detroit, where you know what, Dan Campbell, you took them as far as you can. Maybe they need somebody else in there to take them over the top.
Yeah, that's what I see. I think that the days of thinking that the Dan Campbell Lions, and maybe this is premature, but the days of thinking that the Dan Campbell's Lions are Super Bowl contenders, in my mind, I think ended on Thanksgiving. I didn't see it. And it's not that the team and let me make sure I add in that Amaron St. Brown got knocked out early in the game and didn't come back. I understand that. But I don't think that has nothing to do with what I was looking at as far as play calling and how the team actually looked and how great they let Green Bay look when you know we're not believers in Green Bay. They look like a Super Bowl contender every time they play Detroit. You see what
Yeah,
I'm saying? Well, this year anyways. So that's I just think that he's excited, bro. Like it's
me, you can even use Amon St. Brown's injury as an excuse because the offense didn't even miss a beat. We just talked about it. Jameson Williamson had the best game of his career. Like he showed you, hey, I can do the same things that Amon could do. I'm not just a deep
not
threat. I can run different routes.
not
And
only that,
that's the thing.
they had a guy they signed for just special teams out there looking like he's Sam Laporta. Like
Yeah,
golf
that
will get
tight
it,
end.
guys. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Golf will
he's
get it.
actually their third string tight end because their second string tight end got hurt too.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is golf can play with pretty much whatever. Golf will level dudes up. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So I know this wasn't a Jared Goff. That's why I'm not gonna throw the haymaker on him. Could have played better. There was a few passes I think he maybe could have did a little bit better. I know Jamison Williams dropped a
yeah.
big pass.
Even still, he only had two incompletions after the first quarter.
Yeah, I know. I'm probably thinking of a few of those passes in the first quarter when the
Mhm.
game started getting away a little bit. But the thing is, though, this you have on offense, you have a Super Bowl ready team. You just do. I believe that. On defense, not so much, but I believe that if you had a guy like that could coach offense, which I believe they do, they're just decided to take play calling from him. You know, um, Dan Campbell's gonna run this team into the ground until he gets fired. If how many games they got left?
They got 5 games left. And speaking of the defense, I also think the defensive coordinator needs to take some of the blame too. You're okay. All their DBs are hurt except for Branch. He's the only starter that played yesterday.
Uh,
Why are so knowing that you're playing with all backups? Why are you continuously playing man to man when you can't get a pass rush?
I'd assume that that's his defense is man to man, and he doesn't know how to adjust it. So you supposed to as a GM know that and give him the right players to do this. he's not gonna probably be able to go from like
I mean, maybe he did give him the right players, but when your players are hurt, you got to adjust to the backups. You can't expect your backups to play man to man or all in.
or them backups got to be man to man corners.
Yeah,
Doesn't mean they gotta be Jalen Ramsey. But what I'm saying is you gotta bring him more man corners versus zone corners. Because if those top corners go down and now he got zone corners and he doesn't know how to coach zone defense, or that's not what he's comfortable with doing and it don't help his D line and he can't put guys in the right position, you hired him because he's supposed to be good, right? So you're supposed to accommodate what he does. And that's on the general manager. So if he doesn't have man corners, I can't blame a guy because I doubt if you've never coached zone in your life or that's not your specialty, that's more harder than trying to get a guy up to par and to play zone. It's like, bro, just stick on your man. Figure it out. You're in the NFL. You see what I'm saying? So I feel like that's more of a general manager problem than the DC problem. But their defense has looked like shit, to be fair.
they have. I mean, they played well against Philly, but that's not saying much. We just talked about how
Yeah.
fast Philly's offense is.
Yeah, that's more about how bad Philly's offense is than how good their defense played.
But so for Detroit, this is a huge loss. They're now 7-5. We talked about it last week that there's 6 teams fighting for 5 playoff spots in the NFC. 3 from the North, 3 from the West, and one of these teams are going to be on the outside looking in. Right now, that team is Detroit. With them losing this game, they pretty much have no chance of winning the division.
Yeah.
They still have a chance at the wild card, but they need one of those 3 teams from the West, whether it be the Rams, Seahawks, or Niners, to slip. The one thing that helps Detroit though is that they do have an easier schedule. Even though the Cowboys are not as easy as we thought they would be earlier on, that might actually be a tough game. That's who the Lions play next. But other than that, the Lions they have the Steelers that's winnable, the Vikings that's on Christmas that's winnable, especially the way JJ McCarthy's been playing, and then the end of the season with Chicago. Depending on how these games with Green Bay goes, Chicago might be resting players that game. And then as far as catching up to one of the teams in the NFC West, the key game for Detroit, which is the hardest game left on their schedule, is they do play the Rams in 2 weeks. So if they could beat the Rams, that could help their playoff chances. But right now, they're on the outside looking in. As far as the Packers, that was a huge win. They're 8-3-1. That tie might help them. They do have 2 games left against Chicago. They actually play Chicago next week. That's going to be a big game that might towards deciding who wins that division, and that tie might actually help them in the long run, help them win that division. And then, as we talked about with Chicago, Green Bay's also has the chance to also get that number 1 seed and have the road to the Super Bowl go through Lambeau in the NFC, which is going to be cold as fuck. So everything Green Bay, everything's in their hands right now. All they have to do is beat Chicago, and they could win that division and be a top 2 seed or maybe or top 3 seed in the NFC.
If their offense plays like it did last night, I mean, well, they got a chance. But yeah, I think Lions. I told you my decision would change and be heavily dictated on this game. I mean,
You
Packers
said
got a chance.
looking in, I just know it's gonna happen now.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Packers now, looking like they got a legit chance to take the division because of that half game. I didn't expect them to win this game. Lions, they still got a chance. I'm not fully sold on the 49ers, so that's probably maybe where their wiggle room will lay. It'll probably be one of those 2 teams.
The
But
dynasty. Look,
yeah, but I'll let you know one thing. This Lions team will not beat the Rams. This Lions team cannot beat the Rams.
I'm
This
not
Lions
even they can beat the Cowboys next week.
Yeah, this Lions team definitely ain't beating the Cowboys neither because they can't stop nobody, right? So Dan needs to look in the mirror, and I know it's a tough pill to swallow. He needs to hand that coordinating back to his OC so the Lions could get back on track, or this would be a wasted season sooner
Fact.
rather than later.
That's what I was gonna say. Like the fact that Jared Goff kept audibly out of a lot of those plays, that should tell Dan Campbell something.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Like it got to a point where Jared Goff was basically his own offensive coordinator in that
Yeah,
game
he's
yesterday.
about to be Jared Manning. It is what it is. I mean, when you ain't got a guy calling the right plays, you gotta do what you gotta do. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure right now the owners watched Jared Goff long enough to say he's not the problem. So I'm pretty sure Jared got a little bit of wiggle room right there. But you could dive in.
She gave him a no trade clause, so he ain't go nowhere.
Yeah. So it is what it is. So I'll say this: we could dive this. I'm gonna Lions are gonna be one of the teams I watch heavy going forward. But the Packers, after watching last night, they wouldn't say they made me a believer because I think the Lions might just be really on the downtick. But they looked really good last night, and I'll give them their props. They got a chance at the division.
Yeah, I'm with you. The Packers, they didn't make me a believer either. They just set themselves up nicely to win that division.
Yeah,
In the worst case scenario, they're gonna get one of those wild card spots.
yeah,
And then, like I said, for the Lions, their only hope right now is they have to not necessarily win out, but they have to win and then hope one of those teams in the West, whether it be the Rams, Seahawks, or Niners, one of those three, to kind of slip here towards the end of the season.
correct.
But I'm also with you too. If out of those three teams in the West, the Niners are probably likely that team that slips. But the
Yeah,
Lions can help themselves though by beating the Rams.
they could. I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, me neither. Especially since that game's gonna be here at SoFi.
Yeah, I don't think we'd have a problem beating them in their home stadium. They just this team, their Lions team, just don't look good right now.
Nah, and then like I said, defensively, I can give them some slack because all your corners are hurt.
Yeah,
But offensively, I think Dan Campbell, I don't know what happened, but he overreacted to something for him to say, you know what, I'm taking over play calling. And since he's taken over play calling, they have not looked good offensively. They went from having a top five offense to right now, they might be like, bottom five.
facts. He's gonna ruin them.
Yeah. All right, so we'll move on to the next game. We have the Kansas City Chiefs at the Dallas Cowboys. Patrick Mahomes had a homecoming. He's actually from Dallas, and he talked about before the game how, as a kid, he was a diehard Cowboys fan. So he got to play his favorite team. It was also his first game playing in Dallas, which surprised me because Patrick Mahomes has been in the league now for 8 years. So I'm surprised this is his first game in Dallas. But anyway, the Cowboys won the game 31-28. They have now won three in a row. The Chiefs dropped to 6-6. So they're talking about your season on life support. The Cowboys improved to 6-5-1, and as we talked about earlier, with the Bears winning today, with the Eagles losing, I should say, the Cowboys now just one game behind Philly for that division.
Yeah,
So now the Cowboys, who looked dead in the water a month ago, has a chance to win that division, especially with the way the Eagles are playing right now. And I talked about this last week, Mike. I said that the Marshawn Nealon situation might be a blessing for the Cowboys because they're able to turn tragedy into something positive. They have not lost the game since he tragically took his own life, and I think maybe losing him, their teammate, their friend, their brother, that could be a rallying cry that maybe save their season or flip their season around. But I'll run off the stats real quick. Patrick Mahomes completed 23 of 34 passes, 261 yards, four touchdowns, no picks. It's actually one of the better games he had this season. Kareem Hunt was their leading rusher with 14 carries, 58 yards. Rasheed Rice had 8 catches for 92 yards and two touchdowns. He was their leading receiver. For the Cowboys, Dak Prescott completed 27 of 39 passes for 320 yards, two touchdowns. He did have one pick. Javante Williams was their leading rusher with 17 carries for 59 yards. And then CeeDee Lamb led the team in receiving with 7 catches, 112 yards, and a touchdown, even though George Pickens is the one that made all the clutch catches there in the fourth quarter as the Cowboys held on to win 31-28. And then, Mike, I said what I had to say. So, what's your thoughts on this game? And do you agree with me? Maybe the Marshawn Lynn tragedy is kind of flipped the Cowboys season around.
I think it has. It sucks for him to go through it, and obviously condolences to his family. We already talked about all that.
Yeah.
I mean, way too young to leave this earth, but I think it has. I think sometimes tragedy helps teams in ways that people don't know because it brings brothers together, brings teams together, um,
Makes it
allows them to play for something versus, sometimes people just don't, such to say, they don't really have much to play for. Like this gives them the Super Bowl should be enough, but the truth is if that was the case, all these teams would be playing great, right? It's just not
yeah,
always enough.
yeah. Marcellus Wiley, shout out to him, but I think he said it best. And that is like you'll be surprised that like 90% of the players in the NFL really don't care about winning the Super Bowl. It's all about making
I didn't want to even say it, but
money.
it's like look, not just neither because they're growing every year anyway. So
Yeah,
that's what the actual truth of the situation is, and I think that giving them something extra to play for sometimes does throw a fire into teams. And let's not count out the trades he made. I mean, Jerry's hitting this year. Shout out to Jerry, man. Maybe we all made fun of his game plan at the beginning of the year, but Jadavion Clowney has looked pretty good at a discount. We know he's older.
yeah.
Um, Quentin Williams, we knew where he was going to be. Logan Wilson looks like a game changer for them. It's almost like he knew what he was doing. Almost, you know?
Well, for me, my only criticism for him was that I felt like he should have been on the Al Davis, like towards the end of Al Davis's life. He was kind of like F them draft picks. I'm going to try to win a Super Bowl before I die.
Great.
And with Jerry Jones being like 83 years old, I feel like that's what he needs to do. Like, F them draft picks. You need to be trying to win now. And like, I don't think the Cowboys are going to win the Super Bowl this year,
Might be
but
thinking about
they might make the playoffs.
You know what? You know what? Might have been underestimating. Maybe he don't give a f about winning himself a Super Bowl if he lines his kids up to win multiple Super Bowls. So maybe we're looking at an expiration date, and
Yeah,
he's looking at like a bigger map. Like a bigger
trying to leave Steven like a dynasty or something.
yeah, like he might be thinking about something different, and I respect that. Cause as a father, if I could give up, set my daughter up to do better and me take the short, I would do that. So if he's looking like I could get myself a ring and be greedy, and my sons are dealing with a shit team for uh, 40 years, you
Well,
know,
kind of like what Mark Davis has been dealing with for the last 15 years.
yep. Or after watching that, maybe I don't care if I win a ring. I put myself in a position to possibly compete, but I don't damage my legacy, and I'll leave the kids with a good legacy to win. You know, he got enough money where maybe the Super Bowl isn't as important to him as we think it is, and we both agreed on that point as far as him. He should be going all out to see another ring. Maybe he just don't. I mean, in that aspect of things, I'm not mad at him.
No, I mean his legacy is set. I mean he's still living off the '90s.
Eh, Yeah, but what I mean is, if he realized there's been 40 years that went by, let me not fight it, or 30 years that went by, let me not fight it, and just start thinking about what this team could be 10 years from now, even if I'm not here, right? So maybe we just see looking at the bigger picture. As for the game, the Cowboys showed that I'm not saying contenders for Super Bowl right now, but they showed their contenders for the division. They showed their playoff contenders, and they showed that they have made strides in defense to be better, along with Dak playing out his mind and George Pickens arguably playing a lot better than CD Lamb right now, which is crazy. Javonte Williams playing out his mind when Denver couldn't get it right with him for 3, 4 years. I believe he was banged up a lot of that time. But they look good. Now, as far as the Chiefs, Mahomes showed you why he was Mahomes. I seen that boy make some passes that you just can't make, and he still makes them effortlessly.
Even his incompletions, he made some great passes.
Yeah. So this ain't a knock on him. Rasheed Rice looks amazing. Worthy looks amazing. Um, it may be time to start thinking about defense, O line, a real running back, not washed up or guys you want to put in that role or whatever the case may be. Um, but I think for the first time in a long time, I seen the real weakness in the Chiefs. Like I don't know if this team could bounce back. I still have a funny feeling they might got their way back into this. And I told you that last week. Dallas couldn't lose this game. I felt like the Chiefs could and still have a small chance. Um, we'll
Yeah,
see
but
how that goes.
The
Go
Chiefs
ahead.
are really added chances though, because we talk about it every week. They don't have the tiebreakers against the teams that are ahead of them. So
Well,
like they have to basically win out and hope these teams, one of these teams, whether it's the Chargers or the Jags or the Bills, slip. But it doesn't matter if those three teams slip because they keep losing too. So
a-
it's like they're not really helping themselves.
and that's why I say a glimmer, because the chances of a few of those teams falling apart is there. The chances of the Chiefs winning every other game is there, and that's why I still leave it a small chance. After losing this game, it obviously tragically affects them, right? But um, I think I think I've seen a defeated team. The Chiefs could be defeated.
Yeah, I got their schedule up. So their last 5 games for the Chiefs next week, they host Houston. So that game might be up in the air because Houston's gotten better.
Yeah.
Then they play the Chargers. The Chargers already beaten them once,
Mm.
but the Chargers also banged up, so they could win that game. And then they're at Tennessee. That's a win. Then they have to play Denver again. They'll probably lose that game. And then they end the season at Vegas, which is probably a win. So
I'd say,
out of those 5 games, I could see 2 locks, which is the Titans and Raiders. But then Houston and the Chargers, that's a coin flip to me. And I don't see them beating Denver.
well, I'd say it's not impossible for them to win all five of those games. Denver got them already, so it's not uncommon for teams to split in the division. Chargers got them. It's not uncommon for them to split in the division. Um, I could see the Chiefs going on a 5 game winning streak and sneaking in and people regretting that they let them in. Now, do I think it's gonna happen right now is another situation.
I was
But
gonna ask you though, because like you keep saying the Jags are gonna slip. You still believe the Jags are gonna slip? That's the only way Kansas City is gonna get in right now is if the Jags slip.
I'll put it like this: what about the Chargers? How many games they above the Chiefs right now?
The Chargers. Hold on, let me look at the Chargers.
Mm.
So the Chargers, depending on what happens this week, right now they are a game and a half ahead of them. But if they win this week, they'll be 2 games ahead.
With 5 games left, and
Yeah,
that's also, you see what I'm saying. So I'm looking at those two teams and saying that either the Jaguars and the Chargers put their foot on the gas and they let Big Bro, no, not this year, or there's an out there where one of those teams might fall apart.
well
You
the
know,
Chargers do have the hardest schedule. The easiest game of their schedule is actually this week. They play the Raiders, but then after that they got Philly. They I mean they could beat Philly, but that's gonna be a tough game. Then they're at Kansas City, as we just talked about. Then they're at Dallas. That game's not as easy. That game's not gonna be easy for them. Then they play Houston. That could also be a game for Houston to also get a wild card. And then they end the season at Denver. Now
yeah.
the only thing that saves them about Denver is that it's the last game of the season. So depending on the seeding, Denver could be resting players.
Yeah, and being 1.5 game up when they get to play you one game and could instantly move up one, I'm not
I'm gonna say 2 because they're gonna beat the Raiders this week.
possibly, but all I'm saying is those division games is all I'm saying. So it's a chance where something happens and then the Chiefs is a half a game behind them with 4 games left. So there's just a little bit of wiggle room with those two teams where the Chargers and the I'd say the Chargers more than the Jaguars had a chance to do what the Steelers did and couldn't do it. Like, you had to separate yourself and you just couldn't. You know what I'm saying? You left way too much wiggle room. And I'm just not confident that the Jags or the Chargers have the oomph to step on the gas, because if that was the case, we wouldn't even be talking about the Chiefs no more. They would already did it.
True. But yeah, the Chiefs they gotta string together some wins and they gotta hope.
mm,
that one of these teams slip. And then for the Cowboys too, I will say also too to give Jerry credit is also the coach Brian Schottenheimer.
yes,
People criticize him for that hire.
yes.
People thought he should have hired Dion, and that Jerry just taking the easy way out because he just promoted Brian Schottenheimer from OC last year to head coach. He really didn't have to look far. I still think he did Mike McCarthy dirty, but
Yeah,
that'll be a conversation for another day. Because he kind of Mike McCarthy. Other teams wanted to interview Mike McCarthy, but he kept blocking him, only for him to fire him after there were no more jobs left open, which I thought was wrong. Um, but I feel like he hit it out of the park with Schottenheimer. This team plays hard for him. They seem to love him. Granted that he was the OC last year, so it's not like they didn't know him already. But yeah, Schottenheimer seems to be doing a good job with this team, and hopefully he could do something. Hopefully he could do something that his dad wasn't able to do, which is win a playoff game and take this team to the Super Bowl.
I mean, shout out to Schottenheimer and Jerry for that hiring.
Yeah.
Um, they're shutting a lot of people up, and I think genuinely this Dallas team. I know that I believe they did do Micah Parsons dirty as well, but I also believe the Dallas's defense has gotten better. So
Well, I mean, they're winning, but I don't know how much better they've gotten because all these quarterbacks are still having the best games of the season against them.
yes, but what I mean by got better, and remember, it's about strides. It's not about fixing everything overnight. Running
Mhm.
backs ain't going for big yards on them no more, so they got that under control. Um, that's a big part of it. And if you go back to Jerry, his focus was stopping the run. You got that done.
Yeah.
Now, now it's time to focus on other things. So I'm pretty sure he knows he needs a big time edge rusher, maybe in the draft or something in the off season. He needs to figure out what's going on with Diggs. Paid Bland, and Bland doesn't look like that guy.
Nah,
I'm
he might. I mean, he can't do anything about Bland because he's under contract. Diggs is going to be a free agent, but if Diggs doesn't play better, I'll just let him walk, and then maybe see if you could draft somebody or sign a free agent.
yeah, and so that's that. But I think that he started. Most coaches would tell you building the trenches, right?
Right.
So he started with his D line, the middle of it, the middle of his defense, and people get into that that way, pass rusher, most important spot in the NFL. They get big money, all that stuff. But the truth is, most of the prolific pass rushers don't stop the run. Um, some of them don't even know how to stop the edge. So even if they get 14 sacks, it's like 80% of the time they're losing plays. You see what I'm saying? It's like so that's not really, and I feel like that's where the Micah Parsons thing in Jerry's mind was he's not good against the run. He's not probably top 20 against the run. So you're great at sacks. You don't really cut the edge all the time. Um, as far as wins, maybe he gives them one extra win a season, right? But if they could stop the run consistently, that might give them three extra wins a season. You see what I'm saying? And if you could
Yeah.
do that with less money, logic starts playing in here where you kind of understand what Jerry's thinking. And I understand that. I do believe that he needs to bring in a young pass rusher via draft. And he's loaded with picks right now. So you got draft right. But you could get a young Micah Parsons that don't need money for 4 years.
Well, I was gonna say though, he did trade one of those first round picks to the Jets, and
True.
I criticized that trade not because of Quentin Williams. 'Cause I think that they that's a good trade.
Yeah,
I criticized it from the standpoint that Jerry let the Jets pick which first round pick they wanted, whether it be the Cowboys or the Packers. And so we all know the Jets they're gonna take whatever pick is higher,
yeah,
which is more likely to be the Cowboys pick. But right now, with the Eagles struggling and the Cowboys now getting closer and closer
right,
to
we might.
catching them in that division, both of those picks might be in the 20s. So the
Yeah,
Jets, even the Jets, still lost because no, they gonna get bad picks regardless. It's not gonna be a top 10, top 15 pick like they thought when they first
yeah.
made that trade.
If you look at it, Jerry Jones made that pick in confidence, knowing he wasn't laying down this year.
Nah.
He bet on himself, and that was another win for Jerry Jones. 'Cause that pick isn't gonna be no different than 2, 3 picks apart. Doesn't
No,
matter.
yeah, the Cowboys pick and the Packers pick is not going to be that much different. Like the Jets, I mean, they don't. The Jets don't really matter who they choose right at this point.
And they probably had somebody else that was a way worse team willing to give you a first round pick. You should
Yeah,
probably be thinking that decision right now. Where Jerry was like, I don't care which one you want. You want the Dallas one? He kind of knew they would be all right. You know what I'm saying? I respect that. He's a gambling man.
yeah. The
Um,
only thing for the Jets is they could package those picks and maybe trade up to get Mendoza if
bad
they
decision.
believe in them.
Bad decision, man. I'm not doing that shit if I'm them. But the Cowboys, I think right now the sky's the limit for them. I don't believe they'll win a Super Bowl this year, but I'm more confident in this Cowboys team than when they had records 12-2, going into week 15, because I didn't believe in those teams. This Cowboys team has grit. They got stepped on. They're fighting back. I like what they're doing. Their defense has made strides to get better. Um, Dak is playing out his mind. Pickens is probably the rob of the year for that trade. So that's probably the best trade of the year for anybody.
Yeah, the Steelers got to be kicking themselves right now.
Yeah. Um, so when you're looking at what they did, this is a team that's equipped to go on like one of those 9-7, 9 and whatever Giants runs where you sneak in and you win the ring. They're equipped to do that.
Hey, this might be the year to do it too. But
Yeah,
yeah, I mean I go back to kneeling. Like I said, it was a tragedy, but they haven't lost a game since that happened. And I think like we talked about earlier, they're playing for something now. And I think going through that as a team has brought them closer together. And
yeah,
that could be another reason why they're winning.
for sure. I completely agree. Shout out to the Cowboys for turning it around. I think that they're going up the roller coaster and the Chiefs is going down it right now. Not as far as future, but I mean as far as this year.
Yeah, both the Chiefs and the Lions right now, both of their seasons are on life support, and both the Lions and the Chiefs for them to make the playoffs. Not only do they have to basically win out, but they need other teams to kind of slip on the way. So
Yeah,
we'll see what happens. Now, you said in the NFC that you could see the Niners slip, which could help the Lions, and I think both of us agree on the AFC. We don't have much confidence in either Jacksonville or the Chargers, even though both of them could be 2 games up, depending on what happens this weekend.
yeah. I just not confident. If both of them win this week, same thing I said last week, it could change my confidence level. But I have a funny feeling they're both not gonna win this week. I'm not gonna pick against them because they should win these games, right?
Oh yeah,
But
they're both playing the two worst teams in the league.
I
The
know,
Chargers have the Raiders, the Jags have the Titans.
I feel you. But what I'm telling you is, and I'm gonna pick both them to win. But if one of those teams lose, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, that opens the door for the Chiefs. All right, and then maybe what a lot of people thought was the biggest shocker of Thanksgiving, the Cincinnati Bengals put the belt to ass to the Ravens. They beat them 32-14. Joe Burrow in his first game back looked great. The Bengals proved to 4-8. The Ravens dropped to 6-6. Joe Burrow completed 24 of 46 passes for 261 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. He started off slow in that first half because I think he was rusty, but he was awesome in that second half. Chase Brown was their leading rusher with 15 carries for 78 yards. Jamar Chase was their leading receiver with 7 catches for a buck 10. For the Ravens, Lamar Jackson struggled. He only completed 17 to 32 passes for 246 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. Derrick Henry had 10 carries for 60 yards and a touchdown. That's 6 yards per carry. I don't understand why they only ran the ball 10 times with him. And then Isaiah Likely was their leading receiver with 5 catches, 95 yards. Quickly, I'll give my take. The Bengals, they're back in it. They're only 2 games now behind Baltimore. And if Pittsburgh loses to Buffalo this week, they'll be 2 games behind Pittsburgh as well. And so now Cincinnati is right back in the race for the division. And Cincinnati has a pretty easy schedule. They play Buffalo next week, which would be tough. Then they play Baltimore again. That would be tough. But then after that, they have Arizona, Miami, Cleveland. They should win all three of those games right there.
Yeah.
So if they can either split with Buffalo and Baltimore, they still have a chance. And then Pittsburgh and Baltimore have to play each other. So obviously somebody has to lose those games. So Cincinnati, they got a chance with Joe Burrow back. And then for the Ravens, I said this last week, and since Lamar came back from injury, he has not looked right. Like he has struggled. Um, he had one good game, and that was against Miami. But even that game, that was kind of weird because he only threw for like 140 yards, but he did have 5 touchdowns.
It was,
So
yeah,
it was just a weird game. But other than that, he hasn't played well, and his offense has struggled. And it's weird because they flipped in the beginning of the season. The Ravens offense was great. The defense was ass. Now they've switched. The defense has played better, but now the offense is ass.
yeah,
And I don't know what's going on with Baltimore, but Cincinnati, they're right back in this thing. And they play in the weakest division. It might only take 9 or 8 wins to win this division, to be honest with you. Because all three of these teams have flaws.
100%. And I feel like we talked about this last week when we said, are the Bengals done and would you sit Joe Burrow? And I said, no way. Because
Yeah, people in the media were saying the Bengals are making a mistake playing them.
yeah, you remember I told you it was like, bro, they
Yeah,
2 games. Like, and then I kind of had the feeling that the Ravens, the way they look, wouldn't be able to beat the Joe Burrow led Bengals, right? And
nah.
they couldn't, right? So now you take obviously knock a free game because the Ravens and Steelers play each other. The Bengals definitely could win throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Now the Steelers couldn't close the door all year. I believe the Bengals will catch them. The Ravens, I know they was missing Lamar, but the way you've looked lately, y'all ain't running away with anything. So it's gonna come down to, in my mind, do the Ravens let the Bengals come back and take this division? Because I think the Steelers jumped on a sled already. I think they're already sledding out the building. So um, and the question for me would be, does Lamar look better? Because he started with a thigh injury, it went to his knee, now his foot's bothering him. It just might not be his year.
He missed like 4 or 5 games with the hammy.
I know, and that's what I mean. The hammy, not
Yeah,
the knee, and then the foot, all same leg. So when you start thinking about it, it's like his leg might have told him, not this year, brother. And Lamar without running, he's not the same animal. And I'm not one of them guys. I fought for Lamar. Like, he's not a glorified running back. I believe he could. He's a great thrower of the ball. The problem is he don't have heat behind his ball. So when you got to sit back there and you don't have the scrambling ability and your legs are out of, it's just not working right. Do I believe that the Ravens would be able to run away with this division? My answer is no. Do I believe that your tight end being your number one option, your backup tight end at that, leading the way in receiving, is that a winning recipe? No. When your running backs are averaging almost 7 yards a carry, and you decide to give it to him 10 times, probably not a recipe of winning, but game score dictates that. So you got to remember they kind of got jumped on quick. So, but sometimes you need to slower the pace and run the ball and change the pace of the game, right?
yeah,
But
change the momentum.
yeah, but the Ravens don't look strong, the Steelers don't look strong, and the Bengals don't look strong. But are the Bengals dead now that Joe Burrow's back? Absolutely not. They could win
Oh,
every game.
and once again, I think Joe Burrow is my MVP because not only does he affect the offense, he affects the defense. All of a sudden, all of a sudden, the Bengals, who couldn't force a turnover,
Yeah,
forced 5 turnovers last night. Like
Burr.
all of a sudden, Joe Burrow's back, and that defense goes from 32nd to like 10th in the NFL.
Yeah,
Like I've
yeah,
never seen anything like it,
it's
where
crazy.
everybody plays better just because Joe's back.
But now that they traded Logan Wilson, how are they going to sneak Joe Burrow into his jersey? Do they still got a white guy on the defense?
I mean, they still got Trey Hendrickson.
I don't know if that works, but yeah. But shout out to the Bengals, man, and shout out to Chase Brown and his cousin Charlie in the background. Um, he's playing out of his mind. I'm sure Charlie's proud of him, even though he couldn't kick field goals back in the day. But Chase Brown
Well,
is a
yeah, but Charlie's also upset because his other cousin, Chase Brown's brother, his twin brother, plays for the Eagles, and they lost today.
well, yeah, but he looked like shit. To be fair,
Yeah,
if he was even out there, I don't even know if he played.
yeah, I
Um,
don't even know his name.
but Chase was there in the crowd to watch that ass whipping. So that, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Um, I guess the last thing I'll say about these two teams is if you looked at the Bengals, the Ravens, and the Steelers right now, and you said the winner, you know who's the best team in that division, you're a cold-blooded liar. None of them teams look good. They just don't.
N- No, they don't. And that's why I said the Bengals, they're still in it. And that's why I was with you. I disagreed with all the talking heads in the media saying that the Bengals are making a mistake playing Joe Burrow because their season's not over. They still have a chance to win this division.
Huh? And he's I,
So
like
like why give up on the season when we still got an opportunity? Now if Joe Flacco or even Jake Brown, if they could have won maybe two or three more of these games, they'll be in a better situation. But I mean, you can only deal with the cards that have been dealt with you, but
Joe just
they're,
needed
they're
to
still right in there.
but Joe actually tried to give him two more that their defense cost them,
Oh yeah,
right?
especially against that Bears game.
And the Jets won too, I believe it
Yeah,
was.
yeah, the Jets came back
So
from like 14 down.
had they have won one of those, which he gave you, you brought him there to put you in that situation. The rest of your team failed you. Had you won one of those games, this would be wide open. The
Yeah,
Bengals would be just alive as any other team in that division, and probably could lose another game. But now they're looking like they have to win every game, um, and it's just up in the air. But had Flacco gave them one more, I might have picked the Bengals to win this division right now.
yeah. The only thing that sucks for Cincinnati is that Pittsburgh and Baltimore have to play each other, so
Yeah,
somebody has to win those games.
somebody has to lose. Yeah.
Yeah, so unfortunately for Cincinnati, somebody has to win, and whoever wins those games will more than likely win that division. But with that being said, Cincinnati still has a chance.
Well, put it like this: does Cincy now hold the tiebreaker with Baltimore?
Yes, because they beat Baltimore, but they play again later on this year, and then they split with Pittsburgh.
All right. So here's the thing: I think that division goes through the Ravens. If the Bengals win out and they get that other game with the Ravens, I honestly think they might take this division via tiebreaker. Like I think the Steelers are just they're gonna throw some games away. They saved themselves a couple weeks ago, really beating the Indianapolis Colts. Had
Hmm.
they had lost that game, I think the Steelers would already be cooked food right now. Because
Yeah, and the Ravens they actually have a brutal schedule. So they get Pittsburgh next week, then they
yeah,
have Cincy again, but then they have to play New England. Then they have to go to Lambeau, play Green Bay on Christmas, and then
well,
they end the season against Pittsburgh.
why am I not mistaken? Where if I say Cincy beats the Ravens and wins the next week, if the Patriots beat the Ravens, the division might already be the Bengals, depending on what the Steelers do.
Yeah, let me pull up the Steelers real quick, see what they got.
Yeah. Because
So
this
this,
might be, they might literally be able to flip this division in 3 weeks. If
yeah,
they,
Even the Steelers. So they got the Bills this Sunday.
oh, that's a
They
lot.
they they could lose. Then
Yeah.
they play Baltimore next week. Then they play Miami. That they should win that game. Then they play at Detroit. They could lose.
Hmm.
Then they play at Cleveland. With the Cleveland's
What,
defense, there's no guarantee.
what
And then they end the season against Baltimore.
I'm gonna tell you what the Bengals need to happen. They need the Ravens to beat the Steelers. I mean, they need the Steelers to lose this week versus the Bills. But then they need the Ravens to beat the Steelers. They need to beat the Ravens so they own the tiebreaker. And they need the
Mhm.
Ravens to beat the Pats to beat the Ravens. If that happens, they'll probably be down one game with 2 or 3 games left. by owning the tiebreaker, which means if the Ravens drop one and they tie their record, they're gonna walk in. So I can't count the Bengals out yet. I think they got a good shot. I don't trust the Steelers. Had I had more trust in the second place team in that division right now, I would say the Bengals are done. But if you told me the Steelers went 0-4 the next 4 games, it wouldn't surprise me. I don't think they're a good team.
Nah, and even the Ravens, I mean, they can lose to the Pats, they can lose to Green Bay.
Yeah,
They don't have any easy games. The old, like I said, the only thing that saves both them and the Steelers is that they have to play each other.
yeah. It's not. I think right now, anybody that said Joe Burrow could sit didn't look at anything, don't pay attention, and also don't realize when you get $55 million a year, it's probably a good reason to show up to work. So I mean,
Yeah, like see, I get their logic, but to me, Joe Burrow's situation is different than Jaden Daniels because they're saying that Jaden Daniels can come back the next couple of weeks from that elbow.
sit
But
him,
it's like,
sit him.
yeah, see, Jaden Daniels is different. The Commanders, their season is over.
Yep,
They have no chance of making the playoffs. So at this point, there's no point, even when he's healthy, to play Jaden Daniels. The Bengals, their season's not over. They still have a chance. So that's
yeah.
why I didn't understand why people were like, "Oh no, the Bengals are making a mistake." To me, they're not making a mistake. They're
Also,
trying to save their season.
let's throw in another important thing. When it comes to the Commanders or Redskins, if we're going back, right?
Yeah,
That IG3 leg shit just still sticks with me to this day where he had the sprained PC at MCL. Everybody said don't play him. Oh no, he's fine. You risked it to win that playoff game, Shanahan. Um and ended RG3's career because he tore his ACL and just never really bounced back. Or
yeah. It was
honestly,
Mike Shanahan. Shanahan's dad.
excuse me. Yes, correct. But he just never got to bounce back. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah,
and I could say, you know what? I seen IG3 have spurts. It was more about really never getting the opportunity, probably again. But I just get those vibes with Jaden Daniels. He popped.
well, he didn't play well when he got traded to Cleveland, but then against Cleveland, nobody plays well.
Yeah, but I seen him play a couple good games in other situations. Cleveland don't count.
Yeah,
Now, as far as this elbow, it reminds me of the same thing. It's like blowing your shoulder out. It will go in and out of socket all the time till you get the surgery. Um, his elbow versus season, I'm sending him to get surgery even if they say he don't need it. You know why? He does. Because eventually something's gonna happen to his skinny ass arm and he's gonna be throwing his elbow out, just throwing passes. He's not even gonna need to get hit. And
actually,
that
I'm surprised. I'm surprised they said he didn't need surgery because watching it on TV, that did
because
not look pretty at all.
to be fair, they snapped it back into place. But here's the thing: when the socket, and I noticed from my brother, he popped his shoulder out once, and it happened 15 more times. When you pop a joint out of place, absolutely you could pop it back in. But the risk of it popping back out has severely increased. You see what I'm saying? Now
Yeah,
it's not a finger. You know what I'm saying? You're talking about elbow, shoulder. So I feel like there's got to be something there. I would at least rehab them for a whole year to make sure it's good versus putting them out there and it happens again and you end the kid's career.
yeah. See, and not only that, but it's not like because the same injury happened to Allen Iverson back in the day, and that's why he started wearing the sleeve. He was the
Yeah,
first NBA player to wear the sleeve, and
yeah.
that was the reason.
And
But
it
this
was
is a
thicker. It
totally
was thicker when he first started wearing it too. He went to
yeah.
the stylish one later in his career.
Yeah, but now everybody in the NBA they wear the sleeve as kind of like a decoration or some shit.
It's
But
style.
Allen Iverson really needed it, and it was
But
because he dislocated his
like,
elbow.
like I said, to be fair, if you look at the first one he had versus
Yeah,
the one he was wearing later, he turned it into a trend.
yeah.
A
If you see him back in like 2001, that sleeve was thick.
Yeah, it also
Yeah,
had the extra like Melo had it for a point where he had the
yeah. The
padded,
pad. Yeah,
yeah, and you could see it like the compressions kind of more focused on the area. Now it's like a nylon on their arm. It's not
yeah.
doing
So
it.
they just wear it for like as like a fashion thing.
Yeah, for
But my
sure.
point, my point of bringing up AI though is that AI played basketball. He's not getting hit.
Yeah,
Jaden Daniels is getting hit, so there's more of a chance of
yeah.
him re-injuring that elbow. Just throwing the sleeve on it's not going to help. like it did
Just
with
put,
AI.
just getting tackled and putting your arm in the ground is a
Mm,
problem right now. Like just to stop your fall is a problem.
yeah,
So that's why I look at it like that type of injury with versus the season being done. You're not healthy. I ain't saying you get paid, show up. I'm not gonna give him the Joe Burrow. What I'm telling you, bro, is take the year off. Make sure that you're good for next season, because I don't want this to be a problem that fucks with your career. So that would be my and also to be fair, Joe Burrow's paid. Jaden Daniels is the wrong injury away from never getting that big contract.
yeah, because he's still on his rookie deal.
Yeah, so that's where I'm looking at it like, yo, I'm having my agent, my mother, everybody call like, nah, bruh. I
And
knew.
and Jaden Daniels, he's even though he's only in the second year, but
Yeah,
he's also older. Like he's like
yeah,
26.
yeah.
So he's not like your typical. He's not like Caleb Williams who's only like 22 or 23. Like Jaden Daniels is pretty old for a guy who's only in his second year.
Yeah, and that's why I'm telling him right now. And I know he'll probably never see this, but I'm telling all Commanders fan all that. Don't play him. You're gonna regret it. I've never seen this work out good. It just doesn't work out good
Yeah.
when there's things like this. It's not he has a broken rib. Oh yeah, it's throwing a rib protector. Yeah, cool. I'm with that. There's a bunch of things you could play through. Um, dislocations. Remember, now it's loose. It's loose. Think of it. Think of it. Right. It's like tightening something up once it starts falling apart. It falls apart easier. Right. So he doesn't need to be on a field till that arm's 100%. He might want to add fucking 5 pounds to that arm, strengthen it all off season, you know, get the go ahead to know that that arm's good. Because right now, his skinny ass gets tackled, he puts that arm in the dirt. Don't be surprised if it does the same thing.
Actually, I think he needs to hit the weight room period because he's not going to survive playing at 180 pounds.
Yeah, we said that a while ago. And that's why I don't mean to knock him saying skinny because he's a premier athlete, right? But you need some meat to protect that arm now. It's time. Like you.
Yeah,
So if I was the owner of the Redskins or the coaches, I would have told them, bro, I'm shutting you down. I
you mean
need you to
Commander?
excuse me, commanders, yeah. But I would
You in
need them,
trouble?
yeah, I would need them to come. I would just tell them, look, show up next year, right? Plus 15. With their arm bigger, do workouts, get armbands, everything you can strengthen that arm specifically for the next 6 months. I don't want to see you till training camp because this could either be a lingering problem or something that's over with quick. And I think that if he goes out there and he puts his arm down the wrong way, this is going to be a problem that ends up going from a short term thing to a long term thing. And he's not going to get paid in that case.
No, he's not. All
It's
right, so that is it for Thanksgiving. Is there anything you want to add to this?
Nah, man. Let them know where to find us, my brother.
All right, so you can find us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Spreaker. And make sure you like and subscribe us on our YouTube page. And also, too, you can follow us on social media at Mob Squad 508 for Mike and at Expected Ant for myself. And Mike, anything else?
Nah, man. Listen, let's enjoy a happy Sunday this week and go Rams. That's it, man. I hope everybody had better than a Charlie Brown Thanksgiving. That's the last thing I would say, man. I'm gonna tear into some leftovers and call it a night soon. But I'm doing good, bro. Nothing to add in.
All right, peace.
Peace.